Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. If you guys are new here, my name is Kish. I am currently a first-year real estate entrepreneur slash investor. Whatever you want to call it, it doesn't really matter. But I appreciate you guys being here because today I'm going to be talking about my first year earnings slash whatever I made my first year in real estate investing. So to be totally honest with you guys, it hasn't fully been a year of making checks and everything like that. But since my journey started, which took a few months to actually make money in the real estate space, it's about approaching right now whenever I'm making this video in kind of the June 2020 timeframe. I started about a year ago in the May-June timeframe of 2019. Just started learning about it. So for me personally, I'm not an agent. I don't have a license. I don't fix and flip. I particularly participate in wholesale real estate. And if you guys don't know what that is, there's plenty of videos out there. You can check them out. There's a few on my channel. But with that said, we're gonna hop right into it. This is a numbers kind of video because I'm sure you guys are eager to see how big of a flex I'm about to give up to you guys, which you're totally wrong. If you think I made a lot of money my first year, you should probably exit out the video if that's what you want to see. But I appreciate you guys being here. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and let's get right into the video. So as I was speaking in the beginning part of the video, right now I'm 24 years old. I actually started this when I was 23-year-old, currently in the Phoenix, Arizona market. So if you guys know real estate, it's a pretty great market for any kind of thing you're doing, whether you're an agent, you're investing in whether that's fix and flipping or whatever exit strategy you have. It's a great market. So I'm fortunate enough to have a great place with great ARVs and great properties from however much value you want, from all the way from $50,000 to $1 million. There's a big spread here. So for me, that is a benefit, but at the same time, I faced a lot of challenges in the past year. And again, I'm getting into the numbers here just a second, so stick with me, but I figured I'd give you a backstory. Going back to what I was saying is there's a lot of competition. I learned a lot, and that's not really for this video, but I definitely had a lot of struggles. And again, if you guys want to see a video of me talking about that, kind of what to expect in your first year of real estate investing, or more of just my experience, it honestly wouldn't necessarily be what you would experience. Some people go into this making six figures their first year. It really just depends on what you're coming in with, what kind of mentality you have, and how much you're really trying to work for it. But so I started around May-June 2019. I just started learning about wholesaling. Didn't have a lot of money. I had a decent amount of money. I was in the electronic space before, flipping, fixing the whole iPhones, laptops, Androids, all that kind of thing. And it wasn't a scalable business. So I got into real estate investing just from other people in my market that were doing it. They said this is a really competitive market for what I do. And I'm sure just real estate investing is really competitive in the Phoenix market. If you guys don't know, I'm not saying that's an excuse, but it's definitely a hurdle to get over, and it's something I'm still working towards. But at the end of the day, I learned you just run your own business. So in the beginning, it was really slow. Some people end up getting a deal their first month. I took a few months to actually get my first deal, and this is where I'm getting into the numbers. So I actually got my first deal the beginning of September. For me, I was just straight up cold calling. A lot of you might hate that. I hated it 100% too. But the moment that I started taking it seriously, I started to get deals. And so for those few months, I was just learning. I was calling people here and there, but until I really put my foot down and did something every single day and market to sellers every single day, I didn't see results. So I started what's called driving for dollars. So just looking for distressed properties, because for a wholesaler, I have to find properties that are at a discounted, I have to buy them at a discounted rate, so 50, 60, 70% of what it would go all fixed up and put back on the market. And so for me, it took a while to just kind of do that consistent, and I want to emphasize that as much as possible, consistent action of going out and marketing to sellers every single day, or at least 5-6 days a week. Because if you're not asking sellers if they want to sell, you're never going to get a deal. Whether you're an agent, investor, whatever it is, doesn't matter. You need to market in some sort of way or have some sort of inflow of leads. So I was doing driving for dollars. I was calling every single day. And so for cold calling, if you guys don't know, it's kind of like a delayed effect. What we call unicorns is somebody we call up and they want to sell. And so over the few months, I got a bunch of leads, but I never came across that unicorn that wanted to sell within 10, 15, 20, 30 days. And I finally came across one in kind of the end of August. Came across one. The seller was out in Tucson, Arizona, because I used to be in that market just because I went to college there, so I knew a little bit about it. Went driving one day, contacted the seller, and he actually has been trying to sell it for a while. It was just FSBO, really bad condition, and I failed miserably. So I ended actually that is considered my first deal. I actually never ended up selling the property. Again, I don't want to go too much into what wholesaling is, but you basically market the property to cash buyers. So you just take a fee from what you get the seller under contract for to what the buyer takes under contract for, and that cut is yours. So I actually never found an actual buyer that committed. So I found a buyer with a buddy of mine. We went 50-50 on it, and he backed out the last second. And so we couldn't find any other buyer. It ended up being where we had earnest money and we had to just cut it, take it, because the guy ended up backing out like literally hours before it ended up closing. So we decided that we're going to keep the earnest money. That wasn't fair to us. We had done all our due diligence. We put a lot of time into the deal, and he just backed out. So I ended up making $2,500 because the earnest money was $5,000. So we split that between me and my buddy. So $2,500 on September 6th, 2019 was quote unquote my first time making money in the industry. Some people consider it a deal. I don't really consider it a deal. It was just a way I made money. I don't really feel that good about it because it just wasn't a deal, right? Like I didn't go from A to Z and have a check in my hand because the property sold and I solved the problem. Well, I just made money, and I felt kind of bad because it was the earnest money. But if you commit, you commit. I would probably have given that money back to the seller the actual buyer, if he had just kind of looked at it, put earnest money and gone out to the property maybe and say, hey, this isn't what you told me the condition was, because it was in pretty bad condition. But he had gone, looked out, everything like that. He talked with his partners about it, and hours before the transaction was going to close, we had to be the people that have to go to the seller and be like, we're not going to be able to close on this. Our buyer ended up backing out last second. I truly apologize. And so we had to forfeit our earnest money to them. But we ended up still getting paid $2,500. And then so I actually ended up closing my second deal the same exact day. So it all kind of crashed down on me. It was a lot of money that came from zero to nothing. And I'll talk about that here in a second. So the second deal was around the same time frame. I kind of been working on it back and forth. So this one was kind of unicorn. I think I contacted them in the middle of August. Wasn't like they were thinking about selling, and ended up contacting them, going back and forth on the price, and we couldn't come up to an agreement. So one day I was texting her a lot. She just kind of reached back out and she was like, you know what, I need to sell the property. Can you still commit to that price? And it only been a few days, so obviously I could still commit to that price. And that I ended up making $6,500. Again, it was actually a $13,000 assignment fee, but I split it with a buddy of mine. He's actually an agent here in Arizona, and I still am super good buddies with him. I don't work with him anymore necessarily, but a $13,000 assignment, so I made $6,500, and that was the same day that I made $2,500. So for me, it was a big payday. I was super excited. Second deal closed, and then the third deal hit. It was a seller that reached back out to me, and again, you'll start to see sellers just start to come back. So that's the kind of how cold calling works. Is a lot of times you won't get a deal right away, but as long as you plant the seed that you want to be a buyer potentially, that here's an offer, if you'd be interested, you kind of give them a range, they'll come back to you if they really are motivated and be like, hey, I want to sell. So that's exactly what happened. About a week later, on September 13th, and I'm looking at my notes here because I couldn't remember all of this to the T, I ended up closing on another property here in Phoenix. I made $2,000 on it. Go a month later, again, I'm still doing driving for dollars and everything like that. I ended up closing a deal on October 23rd, 2019 for $5,100. So a lot of these are like different numbers, you'll tell. So $5,100, I actually made $5,000, but I had put earnest money of $100 down to open up escrow for these properties. And the reason I do that is just personal reasons. A lot of people in this industry do it. Some people do 1,000, some people do 200. I didn't have a lot of money, so I just did 100, and they never complained about it. So this deal actually came from a free Facebook ad that I had put out. Since I'm not an agent, I can legally go out and be like, hey, here's an incentive if you have somebody you know wants to sell. Somebody reached back out. I had given, so the incentive was like a game at the Arizona Cardinals Stadium. Some daughter reached out to me. Her mom just bought the home in 2016. It was already rehabbed, and she needed to get out of it because she was having health issues, and they needed to move her into the daughter's property. And so went out to the property same day, looked at it, got under contract, and I sold it within about an hour for $5,000. So I made $5,000 from that. So obviously minus the expenses of the Cardinals game, which was like $200 or $300. I don't really remember. 10/23/2019 is when I closed a $5,000 deal. And then just 2 weeks later, I ended up closing my biggest deal from a Craigslist ad deal. Again, it's legal because I don't have a license. I don't know the provisions about being agent and stuff like that. But this was a Craigslist ad I put out. Been putting them out for about 3 months consistently every single day. And one thing you'll start to notice is every reason I got a deal is because of consistent action. That wasn't my first Facebook ad. That wasn't my first cold calls that I got these deals on. It wasn't my first Craigslist ad. I've been doing these so consistent every single day for months for it to happen. Because think I was starting back in May, June, and these are like the end of like October, December, November, December. This is actually when I'm pulling the deal. So this was my biggest deal yet. The guy was going out of the country. Really weird story, but I made $12,500 off of a free Craigslist ad. So that was a pretty cool experience. And then I don't want to go too much into it, but I didn't get a deal for a really long time. And I'm filming this at the end of May 2020. I actually closed 2 deals during this whole pandemic thing. So I closed 2 again from Craigslist, $2,500 and $1,000. So total, let me count this. I've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 deals in my first year. Granted, I still do have a little bit longer to go to consider it my first year. Since I started, if it was the first year since I got my first deal, technically that should be in September of 2020, but it doesn't really matter in the end of the day. I've learned a lot in the past couple months. So 7 deals, a little bit, I think it's around 30,000 I've made this entire year. A lot of that I put back into the marketing, so I did not make a lot of money this year. I have other income streams that have helped me stay afloat, but it's been a struggle. It wasn't no glamorous 6-figure year, 7-figure kind of year that other people might portray. It's crazy to see how other people do it, but for me, I don't compare myself to other people because I believe in terms of like faith and stuff like that, it just things happen for a reason. So I was meant to get 7 deals my first year. I was meant to get the deal sizes that I did. I'm still waiting for my big boy check of 20, 30,000. That's definitely going to come in the future, but it's all happening for a reason. I learned a lot, went through a lot of failures. So basically the entire 2019 and 2020 and 21 and 2022 are going to be just failing forward. And so I hope you guys really enjoyed the video. That's pretty much just it was a numbers video. It was a little bit of a background, but that's just my experience. That's not how yours is going to be. You're not going to make the same amount of money as me. You'll probably make more. Some of you might make less. But again, the best advice, if you are looking for some sort of advice and you're trying to get into real estate, wholesaling is a great option because there really isn't any money involved unless you want to put money into marketing. But you could spend like $100, $200, $300 a month to really get into it, just for like a software and stuff to get the ball rolling and start pulling in leads. But wholesaling is a great thing. I know there's definitely other ways you can do it. So I hope you guys did enjoy the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to see more content like it. If you guys have any video ideas you want to see in terms of what I talked about in this video or just what you're curious about, leave them in the comment section down below. I'll pretty much respond to every single one of you because I only get like 10 comments on these things anyway. So with that said, I hope you guys have a great week, have a great rest of your day, and I'll catch you in the next video.